We are the African giants. And there's no way we can deny the fact that just being the African giant makes us feel superior. Have you ever wondered where the superiority comes from and what the superiority might be doing to us? Or better still, have you ever stopped to consider that maybe Nigerians have an inferiority complex? But I just said we feel superior. Welcome back, guys. This is Madness in Nigeria Living, and I'm your host, Gisi. Today we'll be taking a dive into the two sides of the coin, the inferiority and superiority complex of the Nigerian society. I don't think as individual people we feel inferior or superior per se, but as a collective we have that mindset. And it has its pros, it has its cons. When we go to the diaspora, we do exploit, and that's why you hear Nigerian people everywhere. We're doing things because we know where we're from, we know we are giants. But what is it like for you, the individual human being, living through that? I think a lot of people would agree with me if I say their very first bully or their very first form of bullying came from their parents. Their parents who saw them as an extension of themselves. Their parents who saw them as the only one that is only a human being when they are serving their parents. So, growing up, you felt your only purpose was to serve your parents. Growing up in that kind of environment has many ways it can affect you. The two ways I'm going to talk about is the inferiority and the superiority. Because in one hand, it will make you always doubt yourself. It will make you always feel inferior to people you perceive greater than you, because that kind of environment force feed you hierarchy. In another hand, it will make you feel superior to people you perceive lesser than you, because that's the two sides of the coin. And what does it do for the Nigerian one? For one, anytime you go to a Nigerian office here, no matter the type of office, you always notice that the people in the office, the bureaucracy, they are usually terrible to you, except they perceive you to be a rich person. Except they perceive you to have more than them. But you know the one that is always crazy, regardless of how they perceive you. If you're a white man in Nigeria, white privilege is finest in Nigeria. But it's not the truth for a lot of Nigerians. And you say that our inferiority, superiority complex switches. It switches based on how we perceive the other person. So if you are perceived as lesser than, you will be treated badly. If you are perceived as more than, you will be treated more favorably. But the truth is, that perception is warped. It's warped in a way that we cannot identify ourselves. It's warped in a way that we see ourselves as inherently lacking. And what does that do for everyday people? What does it do for me? What does it do for you? Just think about it. Just pause and think about it. We all have had our own experiences. We've all had our own interactions with people where you felt like, oh, they treated you worse because you didn't have money. And you swore in your heart, no worry, make I get my money too. No worry, let me make that money. When I make that money, they would know. Why? Why do you think your value is tied to money? But in reality, Nigeria sees value tied to money or brute force. You either have the power to beat someone up, or you have the power to hire the person that will beat someone up. And that violence stems from somewhere. It came from somewhere. I would say inherently Nigerians are bullied. But why are we bullies? Why do we think we have to impose our view on every other person? On our kids, on our church members, on our colleagues, on our employees, we feel we have to impose our views. Why? Why? Have you ever seen yourself doing it? Like, most people don't want to see themselves as bullies, but we know we do it. Deep down, we know we do it. We know we get our fun when we see Ghanaians doing stuff and we just piece on them, which was go at Ghanaians. It's like Nigeria versus Ghanaians, Nigeria versus South Africans. It gave us our best memes. It's funny, I swear to God, it's funny. But why do we need to do it? Why do we have to always be the superior person? Why? And worse, what does that do for us? Because at the end of the day, the Nigerian person still make up the Nigerian government. And we're not going to deny the fact that if the government feels inferior, there are some foreign and international policies they will take. First of all, they are bargaining chip. They bargain in a way that our oil is sold cheaper, our exports are sold cheaper because we feel we are inferior, we feel our food is inferior, we feel everything is inferior. But at the same time, we feel we are greater than everybody else. But I don't want to talk about race. I really do not want to talk about race, and I'm going to avoid as much as I can. But we can't deny the fact that if you are Chinese, Indian, white, just be a foreigner that doesn't have a black looking skin in Nigeria, and Nigeria is sweet to you. Why? You see the soldiers beg you. You see the soldiers treat you nicely. The same soldiers that will slap you if you talk back at them. You see the police. Not just the police, you see the everyday man. Go to the hotels, go to the clubs. Foreigners are treated nicely because we feel inherently inferior to them. We feel lesser than. And it comes in ways that, but why do we feel lesser than? I think it's because of something we like to call double consciousness. Double consciousness was coined when, I can't remember the name of the black writer who coined the term double consciousness right now. But double consciousness comes from living in a world wherein Eurocentric standards of living beauty is considered good, and you not coming from that Eurocentric standard, like based on the color of your skins, your own culture, you feel more inferior to that standard. But that standard is all we know. So for the Nigerian Christian that Jesus is white to them, it breaks your psyche. The God you believe in represents a white man and is far from you, a black person. It breaks your psyche. It makes you feel lesser than. Without consciously thinking about it, you automatically feel lesser than. And trying to navigate that is where our superiority and inferiority complex. It's a pendulum. It goes from I'm superior to this other person because this person is blacker than me. I'm inferior to this other person because this person is whiter than me. That's why it comes to no surprise that colorism is strong in Nigeria. But more so than that is the fact that anything we consider European is far more superior. So when someone has a European accent, lovely. That's one of the funniest things. When I first started the podcast, a lot of people told me to touch up my accent. I should try and sound more British or at least eliminate my Nigerian accent. And I'm like, if I had the French accent, would you tell me that? If I had the beautiful French accent, and it's that European, because at the end of the day, accent is just the way your language sounds because you grew up in a particular area. But the polishing of accent to sound more European, more American, is because we feel our accent is ugly. We feel it's lesser than. And these things shape the way we interact with other people. I remember asking a friend one time that if the first time he had a conversation with me, I was speaking Pidgin, will you see me as intelligent? The post thought about it for a while and they said no, they wouldn't have. If our very first conversation was in Pidgin, because I speak Pidgin fluently, they would have seen me as less intelligent. And language has nothing to do with intelligence, but we have ascribed now language to intelligence. That's why you see some people, the moment they start speaking English and using big words, everybody around them just feels like, okay, this person is more intelligent, or this person is trying to be more intelligent. And it has nothing to do with that, it's just language. That's why it saddens me that when I was younger, I bought into this idea. I don't know how to speak my native tongue. And when I was younger, I felt like it wasn't necessary. Like, what's the whole point? I can speak English. I can speak in fitting. This is very fitting that I made a mistake while trying to brag about speaking English. I love that. I felt like there was no need for me to learn my native tongue because I can speak English fluently. And I felt like my language can go extinct for all its worth. It worth nothing. But now looking and see how language shapes reality, how culture shapes your identity, and seeing the importance of culture, I started wondering why as a whole, as a collective, we feel inferior to the white man and we also feel superior to other black men because we don't know ourselves. We do not inherently know our history. Our history was erased, but not erased in a way that there's no history at all. It was our history still exists and at the same time doesn't exist because history is a story told, and the story was told in a way that anything that can empower our blackness was eliminated. But it wasn't done by the Europeans, at least not just them. We played a part in it. And it couldn't have been it. When you were colonized by a particular people that preached a viewpoint wherein you are lesser than, you will feel lesser than. But we are no longer under our colonial masters, at least not directly. So why are we propagating the same mindset? Why do we feel we have to be more white presenting? Why do we feel we have to be more superior to our value? Because at the end of the day, the hierarchy doesn't exist. The other person you are looking lesser than might be the person that will help you in the future. So that mindset is destructive. And the mindset of superiority is why you see Nigerians always try to cheat down on someone else, like they always try to push down on someone else. Whereas for people that they feel is upper down, they try to ruin their image. That's why you see Nigerians, they'll tell the story about one person and go and tell another story about another person as a way to ruin the image. That mindset is what is causing our divide. We are greatly divided as a nation. And it's difficult for a nation to grow if we tear each other down. And we cannot be in harmony if we feel inferior, because deep down we do feel inferior. So how can we navigate this? How can we change this? There's a Kanyong quote I like. Kanyong went something along the line of, you do not get enlightened by imagining light, but by accepting the reality of darkness, the consciousness of darkness, or giving consciousness to your darkness. So understanding that we do feel inferior deep down, understanding that we're a product of generational bullying stemming from our government to our parents to our organizations, understanding that it's a product of how we see hierarchy through the white man's lenses, and understanding that we don't know ourselves, at least to the point of identifying with us, is how we become enlightened. It's how we slowly start to heal from it, unlearn these things, and become more whole in ourselves. And in doing that, we'll see harmony and unity will naturally happen. I think one of my most beautiful interviews I've seen from a Nigerian artist was when Burna Boy went to the Daily Show. He was talking to Trevor Noah and he had the strongest Nigerian accent. I was watching the interview and I was like, wow, we've come so far. There was a time if a Nigerian artist go out there, they immediately try to change their accent to sound more white presenting. And that's why I was so happy to see that he was maintaining his accent, because at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with the Nigerian accent. There's nothing wrong with the Nigerian identity. You just have to unlearn where you see the identity in the hierarchy, because there's no hierarchy. It's a round table. And we are very, very rich in our cultural ways. We have ethical viewpoints and cultural identities that are beautiful if you try to look deep into it. And that's what we should do. We should look to Nigerian philosophers. We should look to Nigerian thinkers. We should look to our cultures. We should look to our past. And not just adapt the past. We should modernize it. We should go with the technology. We can't be preaching mindset that will be detrimental to our growth. We should look to the past to understand where we are coming from and using the confidence from that identity to move forward to the future. But if we don't look back, we can never move forward. And if we don't know ourselves, we'll always be divided. So, there you have it. That's it. A very simple tale of inferiority, superiority. We are giants to other black people, but we are ants to the white man. And we can change that. Yes, we can. I sound like a motivational speaker or a pastor. I don't like that. But we really can make a difference. That's all I have to say. Yes, we can. Okay. I think that's it. One take. We're just going with the flow. Or going with the flow, people. And that superiority stems from. Okay. Okay, let's go. Let's go.